Hello everyone, welcome back to Super Mario Advance Super Mario 2 Doki Doki Panic.
You just sort of
others.
You sort of like duck down, getting ready to get that heart up there, and then you realized at the last second that you were at full health, so there's no point. Yeah. So you just sort of aborted your super jump.
It's not the first time I've done that though. So
that's something they changed for either this version of the game or All Stars. I don't remember specifically. I don't think you could super jump with items.
You couldn't.
Yeah, because I recall remembering like trying to carry something and then super jumping. As soon as you super jump, you throw the item.
Oh,
making it impossible.
Wow. That might be a NES version.
Yeah,
difference between All Stars, because I think you can do that in All Stars.
It's been a long time since I played.
So long, though. Yeah.
It has been, I think, like 15 years since I've played the NES version. I remember I got the NES version on the Wii Virtual Console because I was like, oh, Super Mario 2. Oh, okay, cool. I like the original Super Mario Brothers. And then it was like, oh, wait, this is Super Mario Advance, but worse. Because I didn't know that at the time. And I just never touched it since because I always had either the Wii U Virtual Console version of this or the Wii Super Mario All-Stars version, which is still probably the laziest Nintendo thing that they've ever done, is Wii Super Mario All-Stars, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know, 3D All-Stars is also pretty damn lazy.
It's in a similar vein,
I mean,
at the very least.
At the very least, they did make Mario Sunshine run in widescreen. Like, that's an actual thing they had to code in.
Yeah, I mean, like, it seems like such an easy thing, but then over here we have whoever the fuck was in charge of the Sonic Adventure ports saying it was too hard, even though Randos Online did it with, like, zero effort. So, I don't know. Credit where credit is due, I think.
Fans tend to do things a lot better than companies a lot of the time.
There was a picture that was going around a couple of days ago. I don't remember where I saw it, where it was a picture of a broken machine, and it had like a Post-it note. It's like the fun is fixing it, and someone related it to Sega releasing Sonic games to fans.
That'd be Bethesda.
You're
not wrong, but like not just Bethesda. It seems like the entire Western RPG genre is cursed to always come out unpolished and to need fan patches for like 10 years afterward.
I saw a comic, and it's like the year 2060. We've released Skyrim for the 37th time, with all of the bugs you remember from 2006. But we added paddleboarding. Oh god, the Sonic Adventure thing always confused me though, because Sonic Adventure 1 has a lot of these weird port differences, but like Adventure 2 was ported like perfectly fine to GameCube, and there weren't like
No, it was not.
It was not? What?
It was not.
What was?
Oh, I will say to your credit, it wasn't as egregious as Sonic Adventure 1, but Adventure 2 Battle is not a perfect port. It does have similar issues from Adventure 1, but again, they're not as apparent.
What are the issues? The only thing I can remember that's like missing or weird is that there's no big cameos.
The big thing that
the big thing.
Pun not intended. Yeah, I was gonna say. So the cool thing about like what Adventure 2 Battle did for Adventure is that it had a higher polygon count, so models were better in that one. Yeah. But it had worse sliding. A lot of graphical effects were ruined in cutscenes, and again, but like that's what I'm saying is like the issues are not as apparent as Adventure 1. But it is not a faithful reproduction of Dreamcast Adventure 2.
I mean, but it's pretty close, I would say.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Again, that's why people don't bring it up as much as Adventure 1.
A lot of people aren't going to notice it in Adventure 2's case because, number one, its graphical style in general has aged better than Adventure 1, and number two, they didn't also like deliberately change things on top of it.
There is a video that goes way into detail about what was changed or lost in translation from Adventure 2 to Adventure to Battle. It's a long one though, so you gotta like make the day for it.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's interesting stuff.
Yes, it is.
The Dreamcast was a more powerful system than people give it credit for, and a lot of the time when Dreamcast games get ported to other systems, some of the stuff just doesn't work the same way because of the way the engines were designed to take advantage of the
It was kind of like an advanced version of what the Saturn had an issue with.
Yeah.
Like games for the Saturn were programmed for the Saturn and
Isn't
only
that
the Saturn.
a thing that was with the PS3 as well? Like, if a game was originally developed for PS3, getting it on Xbox was a pain in the ass?
The PS3's architecture was weird.
Yeah, I'll say it was more of the opposite issue because most games were developed for PC and Microsoft or Xbox first, and then getting it to the PS3 was an issue.
That was a thing. The PS3 didn't have a lot of chances to like really show its stuff because a lot of games were being made for Xbox and PC first.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly, now that you're saying about it, I can't think of too many examples of a PS3 game getting ported to
Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, Final Fantasy 13. Yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it was a game coming out either same time on both or Xbox first, PS3 later.
In Final Fantasy 13's case, I actually like this is mostly speculation on my part, but I suspect part of the reason they decided to make it so gosh darn linear is because
corporate
they
espionage.
decided to make it multi-platform and realized, shit, one of these platforms doesn't have Blu-ray. We need to divide up this game somehow in a way that's
Get me HD DVD, sir.
We have Blu-ray at home.
Okay, so
Buy your
like,
HD DVD player for your Xbox 360. Was it like something like an $80 add-on to it?
An $80 add-on to play HD DVDs? Oh my god.
It didn't come naturally on Xbox 360.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
So like
That's basically why it failed.
So like my speculation is just that because they realized they needed to make this game compatible with DVDs and that would require disc changes, they didn't want to have places in the game where you would be going back and forth between the contents of disc 3 and the contents of disc 1 and the contents of disc 4 and
Like we're playing a PC game from 1997.
Just want to make a small correction. The HD DVD player for Xbox was $200.
Shit!
Oh my god.
Jesus, that's almost as expensive as the console was at that time. Like, because the Xbox was like, what, $300 or something like that?
yeah, something like that.
It was 400, I think.
Still, God,
Yeah.
how the hell do you do that?
Man, Sony selling their glorified Blu-ray player for $600 when you can get the Xbox 360 and the HD DVD player
For
for
$600.
$598.
That's God. I mean, still, when you
It's
think about
funny,
it at that
though.
time, like a standalone Blu-ray player in the year 2007 was like
Was still close to $1,000. So
yeah. So
all things considered, the PS3 was still kind of a bargain. People just don't like to. People just don't like to.
I mean,
mention
that's kind of why the PS3 ended up being kind of a sleeper hit. Is that like, despite being like well behind on the game library in comparison to the 360, people did buy it because they saw it as a value package. They could get a Blu-ray player and a video game machine. You know?
I mean, that's partially why Sony did it that way. They wanted to win the format war, which they did. So
yeah, I mean, it worked for them with the PS2 and the DVD player. The problem is just that, in comparison, the DVD player PS2 was like $300 at launch. So, it was an even better deal.
Well, the reason the PS3 was so expensive at launch was not the Blu-ray player, it was the backwards compatibility. They basically had to build a lot of PS2 components into the system.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was the original fat PS3 was literally just a PS3 with a PS2 shoved inside of it.
Yeah, I mean the Wii.
Oh yeah, but if the Wii's two GameCubes duck together, everyone makes fun of
the
it.
Wii
Okay.
basically did the same thing, but the Wii was less expensive on the whole, so
Yeah,
it was able to get
and
away with it.
Yeah, it's just trying to put a PS2 and a PS3 together. Significantly more expensive than trying to put a GameCube into the Wii.
Well, one's a standard definition game console, one's an HD console. It is functionally very different.
Yes.
whereas the GameCube and the Wii are running mostly the same kind of
I mean,
hardware.
technically, the standard def HD portion isn't really as important to that because that's just graphical output. It would need like slightly stronger GPU to hit that resolution. It's more about like the actual like internal resolution that the game is running at. That was the problem.
And the PS3 had that weird like multi-core thing going on too.
Yes, it did. The PS3 was like, I want to say it was like the last console that was made like really unique in architecture, whereas Microsoft's Xbox was always very close to PC. And
Yeah. Which is why everyone kept developing it for that.
Because it's
Instead
easier,
of
yeah.
PS3. It's easier.
I mean,
yeah.
there is merit in trying something new in order to see if you actually can do it better. I'm probably going to butcher this story, but there was, I think, some sort of type of racing. I don't think it was NASCAR. I think it was some sort of stock car where they made a new kind of engine that was circular instead of how they normally do engines, because I know nothing about cars. And it ran too good, and they ended up having to ban that kind of engine because it was just too different and better.
It's a little actually. That's not like a wrong comparison, but it's actually coming at the question from like the opposite direction that Sony did. It's not so much that they were trying anything new with the PlayStation 3. It's more that consoles were, up until that point, designed to be unique in architecture, and Microsoft, with their Xbox, brought in the standardizing with computer hardware philosophy.
Which I think was just better for the long run.
For the long run, yes, that's a thing. But like, up until around that time, up until around that generation, PC hardware was itself not standardized either.
Yeah, everybody had different cards and chips and things. But yeah, no, honestly, it does make things a lot easier for devs if they can just assume that everything they make will work on everything up to a certain point. You know, it just makes porting easier and developing easier. The question I'm just thinking of is that if there's any like, if we did something different, could we get something better? And I feel like the question is maybe, but we're never going to try because we know how things work. And I guess that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just is a thing.
Yeah, kind of. That's the reason, like, that console hardware tended to be very specialized, is because when they were designing the consoles, they were also, like, experimenting with what the consoles could pull off graphically and in terms of other performance. So, like, when they designed the PlayStation or the Saturn, they were experimenting with the kinds of hardware that could pull off different things. And then developers would take that hardware and experiment with it further. But the market that video games was attached to turned out to be not so kind to that sort of diversified hardware specialization.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the idea of console wars notwithstanding, I feel like people nowadays don't care specifically about the tech that their game is running on and more about brand more than anything else.
Yeah, it is most definitely just brand at this point.
Yeah, people like Sony more than Microsoft because they like the Sony brand more versus the Microsoft brand. Doesn't have anything to do with how the games run specifically, because that goes over most people's head.
Unless you deliberately ignore Nintendo products for that very reason.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a downer, because a lot of the like really interesting experimental game design came about because of that diversified and unique hardware. But we're not.
You mean like challenging, like finding ways to work around the challenges that consoles architecture
that
brought?
too, but also finding ways to do new and interesting things with the hardware architecture that was presented.
One of the classic sayings is that restriction breeds creativity.
You can think about it as restrictive, and in the early days that was definitely a factor. But like with the PlayStation 3, they were essentially experimenting with ways to squeeze more power out of a system. and the specific like in the early days before they like tightened up the firmware and stuff, the PlayStation 3 was designed in a way that would have made it like pretty much ideal for experimental design. You could even install Linux on it as a secondary OS.
Wait, what?
They took that feature out because, they took the feature out of the, in the early days, you could go into the settings on your PS3, and there was an option there that would let you install a second operating system on the PC. It was one of those highly advanced things that companies don't generally want to allow their customers to do, because their customers are inevitably going to fuck it up and then sue them because they fucked up.
I'm honestly surprised that the PS3 isn't more popular for self-console modding if there's that sort of functionality still in the game.
Well, you would need like a much older version of the.
Oh yeah, you probably would need like a fat PS3, and most of those like don't work anymore. So
I think
dude, it's not a matter of not working. It's also just they're really fucking expensive.
It's not in the more recent firmware versions, so you'd need a version of the system with.
You'd need a version with old firmware. Oh, yes. That's a pain in the ass.
They took the option out in updates. So, but it was something that you could do in the early days, and it was one of those like things that really, really only appealed to like hardcore enthusiasts. So, that was the kind of thing that the PS3 was still trying to do, and that's the kind of thing that we're not seeing in the modern console market anymore.
Yeah. I learned something new today.